What is up, everybody? Week 1 is in the books, and I am here with Logan, Dom, Alex from FanFeed. We are here to give you all of our victory laps, our panic meter, and give you some look aheads into next week in regards to fantasy football. So if you're watching this tonight, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you're following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're actually live on Instagram tonight for the first time, so that'll be an interesting change of events. Live on Twitter, but really come over into YouTube, hang out with us, and throughout the show tonight, guys, leave us comments on our YouTube channel because I know tonight is waivers. So if in most people's fantasy leagues, so if y'all have questions. Should I pick up this guy? Should I drop this guy for that guy? Or even just start sit questions or trade questions, let us know. These guys are fantasy experts. I'm an amateur, trying to figure this thing out. And we're just going to blindly find our way through this season. So, fellas, how are y'all doing?
Awesome. Great after week one.
Everybody, by show of hands, whose team won week 1?
What do you mean, team?
you're
out of my 5 teams, 3 of them.
Oh, sorry. I know we were talking fantasy. Yeah, it's probably a good one.
You're talking about
I'd have
my
to do fingers.
Team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Patriots.
No, thumbs down. Oh, no, I was in the fantasy mindset there. Yeah,
I was too.
You guys only have 1 fantasy team? What?
Yeah, I think I won probably 40% of my leagues, which is not good. But we press on. This is fantasy football, and the fantasy gods hate me. So,
okay.
That's just how it is. So to start this show, everybody, we're going to go through our victory laps, the guys that we were higher on, the guys we've been talking about that we were really excited to see week 1, and talking about, who did pop off that we were high on, and that we're just going to take turns gloating. So let's start with Logan. Logan, who do you have as your victory lap this week?
So in this week, I wrote in my start and sit piece that I had Emeka Egbuka as my top receiver in the start sit piece. And, he definitely delivered with those 2 touchdowns. I don't expect him to score 2 touchdowns every week. And he only had 4 receptions. But as long as Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan are out, he's going to continue to see his role grow in this offense. And so I was pretty happy with him. I have him in a couple leagues. So I definitely benefited from starting him in some of my lineups.
Yeah, Mecca 8, dude. That was a good game. But, yeah, Mecca was just a easy one. I'm surprised people are so much lower on Mecca than they are the other first-round receivers.
I don't think they should be. I traded down in one of my dynasty drafts just to get a Mecca at 9 instead of Ted at 5. And Mecca's, he looks like that guy.
I think just I'm so sorry.
You're good. Go for it.
I was going to say, I think the concern was just the crowdedness in that receiving room. It was just like you see names like Godwin and Evans and, even McMillan, who's now injured, but you see guys like K-Dot and like it's a crowd. Like fantasy owners usually stay away from those crowded rooms. So.
Yeah, it reminds me of JSN. JSN was drafted into the Seahawks, and he was behind DK, Tyler Lockett, and people were lower on him, and he did have a down year that first year, but it was also a team coached by Matt Eberflus, wasn't it? I think whoever it was over there was a knucklehead.
Shane Waldron was the OC.
Shane Waldron. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, with the Bears, sadly.
Yeah. I think Waldron was OC with the Bears. Maybe that's what I'm getting confused.
He was.
Okay.
Well, he was with Seattle, and then he went to Chicago. He went from Seattle to Chicago, so yeah.
Yeah, Eberflus is the defensive guy. We do have our first question here, so I want to hear what you guys say. Bink says he got offered a Mecca for James Cook. Should he smash accept?
I think he said in his next comment he got offered James Cook for his Emeka. So
okay.
Okay. So he's getting James Cook. I would say take James Cook, especially if you need running backs.
Yeah. It always kind of depends on what you need, but yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Binks, if you've got a second and you can comment, what your need is on your team. Do you need running backs? Do you have three receivers or outside of Emeka. If you do, then I'm going for Cook. But I always like to have more receivers in my flex. I do think straight up Cook is probably more valuable than Emeka. Game one was good, but he's still in a room with Mike Evans sharing time. James Cook is like the only guy on that Bills offense, I feel.
I don't know who offered you that trade. Because James Cook had a good week this week too. 21 points. He had 5 targets for 58 yards. He's getting work in the receiving game. He's the lead running back. There's nobody really behind him taking his rushes. I think he's still a top 15 running back this year. So yeah, I guess there's a Mika hype, but I'd go James Cook there.
Yeah, I think the only reason I'm not taking Cook in that trade is if I've got Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Here's his team. All right, he's got CDT, Worthy, Addison, Bucky, Travion, Dobbins, Judkins.
Take that trade 100%.
Yeah, I would take that.
I would as well.
Yeah, because you're only waiting. You can start him in the flex, and then you're only waiting until Addison comes back in week 4. Worthy probably. I don't know. Have we gotten an update? I don't think we've gotten an update.
It's just a dislocated shoulder, I think. But I think he's rehabbing through it. But I don't think there's any official.
I've seen most surgery. 3 to 5 weeks. 3 to 5 weeks expected to recover from it.
Yeah, and everybody, you guys know your league's better than the rest of us, but you also got to know your waiver wire, because some of them you can have plenty of running backs available, but no receivers, or vice versa. But yeah, I think in this trade, I'm taking James Cook. I think we're all on the same page in that. Cool. Thanks for the comment, Binks. All right, so Logan just told us his victory lap. It was Emeka Egbuka. So let's go to Alex down here in the corner. Alex, who was your victory lap for this week?
Yeah, my victory lap was a guy who people call me crazy for having as my 10th ranked quarterback this year was Justin Fields. We saw him pop off against his former team, 31 fantasy points. He was the quarterback 2 this week behind only the untouchable Josh Allen. You saw his rushing production. You saw him actually look pretty good through the air. He gave Garrett Wilson a good week. Some people were worried about that. Fields, his rushing upside's so high that I think he's going to, if he plays all the games this year, he's going to be a top 5, 6 quarterback. Sky's the limit for him. I loved what I saw.
Yeah, I love the Fields pick. That was a guy I was also on, and I love the victory lap. I was scared because, they had no receivers outside of Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
That was the scariest part, because if he isn't a good passer, which we have evidence that he's not a very good passer, and, struggles to pass at all and can only run, that's only going to get him so far. But, man, he looked good throwing the ball.
Yeah, he was. I don't know. I feel like he really sat himself into that offense. Like, he didn't look nervous. I don't know what you're going to say, AC, but like he was really, really calm in that pocket. Even just like, I don't know. I don't think you guys tell me, but I don't think his first option was to run. Like, I don't think when he was like starting off his plays, like he was looking to run at all.
No, I think that Aaron Glenn, new head coach, really built the offense around him. Like, I heard that it was Aaron Glenn in a bidding war to get Justin Fields because he believed he could make an offense around him. And I don't think I've seen a game so efficient for Justin Fields. He had a 119 passer rating. Holy cow. Like, what are we seeing from this guy? Plus 2 rush touchdowns. So, yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah, Fields was very, very impressive. And that whole offense was, just churning. Breece Hall, baby. Breece was a guy. He looked so good. And this is, if you go back and listen to some of the earlier pods on FanFeed, you'll hear me talking about Breece Hall and how he was like a generational running back and, still could be. He's just had some injuries and been on a bad team. And, man, that just felt good. He looked really fresh and spry. We do have another comment. This is a good one. Michael Goldfield. What's up, Michael? Is Jacoby a sleeper still? And I'm assuming he's talking about Jacoby Myers. And to that, I would say, and you guys put in your own 2 cents, but he will always and forever be a sleeper. I don't know why that is because he's so good. but he's always been a sleeper. It's so wild.
Yeah, he's the number one receiver on a pretty good offense. Geno Smith threw for 360 yards, record all time. No, since for like 60 years, it's the most that any quarterbacks had in their Raiders debut. Really weird stat that was posted everywhere. But yeah, 8 receptions, 97 yards. Can he still be a sleeper when he's performing that well? I guess so. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's so good. And he requested a trade. When. He's not going to play. Losers. He's a baller.
Especially with that, teams are going to always look out for Gentry now. They're going to look out for Brock Bowers, Gentry. They're not really using their guys to cover Myers as much as now because, like you guys said, he's a sleeper. He's not until they trade for, and I doubt this will ever happen. I personally love Dante Thornton on that team, but he's going to take a while to develop and be that number one guy, which I believe he can be. But until then, Myers, I think, is at least a wide receiver 2 flex play like every single week. Especially good matchups.
Yeah, and Bowers is also banged up. I don't know if he's going to miss any time, but like if he was to miss time, that would also open up more opportunities for Myers. So, yeah, wide receiver 2 range definitely a value if he's like in your flex or even as your wide receiver 2.
He's an elite target earner, has been ever since he played with the Patriots. I know the Patriots would have just loved to have traded for him when he requested a trade. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it seems the answer to Jack Besh or Deontay Thornton was Jacoby Myers all along.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right, Dom, hit us with your victory lap for this week.
I'm going with Michael Penix Jr. I know obviously they lost, but he was. I think we were really waiting to see how he did week 1. It wasn't his debut, but he really kind of showed out, and he has a lot of weapons. People don't realize that he's got a great arm. He can rush. He's shown that. He went 27 for 42 for 298 and a touchdown. Which granted, week 1, that's really really good against a tough Bucs team. They were really putting the pressure on him, and they didn't win. And I think he could have I think he had a lot of missed opportunities, but I feel like they're gonna really, really, get that fixed within the next couple weeks. I'm actually looking at his page now. He had 21 rushing yards as well, so he has that rushing upside, and I feel like he has the potential even to rush for I'd say at least 5 touchdowns this year. On that goal line, they're not going to use. They may not use guys like Bijan or they're not going to use those goal line backs. Sometimes they're going to let him rush it and they're going to let him run because at Washington he ran a lot. So I really think that he has at least top 15 potential. At least next week, we'll see how he does, but I think he can get up there in that top 10, especially for fantasy.
Yeah, dude, I'm all in on Penix. As somebody who drafted Kyle Pitts thinking he was the truth, and then following that up with drafting Drake London thinking he was the truth, going through, all those abysmal quarterbacks, hating Arthur Smith, and then getting Kirk Cousins and finally being like, oh, yeah, this is the year. And then Kirk goes down, and then all of a sudden, little Michael Penix, the guy who was reached for at pick 8 in the draft, is the guy who unlocks. Drake London had 15 targets week 1, and he hurt his shoulder early in the game. It was a pretty bad injury. And then Darnell Mooney's out. Kyle Pitts was startable in fantasy, which we haven't been able to say that in 2 years. So gosh, man, that was just. I just love Michael Penix for this team. I think it was such a smart pick in hindsight. At the time, it's why are you taking Michael Penix so early? But I think he's definitely with those weapons. He's definitely got top 15 upside. Anybody else have anything on Penix?
Well, his first touchdown was just a simple check down to Bijan, and then Bijan took it for 50 yards.
Yeah.
He's just gonna get touchdowns like that as well, where he checks out Bijan and he makes a play out of nothing. So you're also going to get cheap touchdowns that way. I am worried about his week 2 matchup a little bit at Minnesota. That Vikings defense is very good defense on the road. I think it's a Sunday night game too, so that's a game I'll be looking forward to watching.
That's a Kyle Pitts game if I've ever seen one.
Kyle Pitts legacy game.
That's right. That's right. It's the Kyle Pitts game to bring us all back in. We do have another comment. Let me pull this up. It's Big Mike says that in order, what are y'all's top 3 tight ends to stream this week? And yeah, I meant to mention this at the beginning of the show, but head over to fanfeednetwork.com. We've just updated the site and we have a whole page dedicated to fantasy football. Now you can find all the streams that we do fantasy football wise. Any of the articles that these guys are putting out. And tomorrow our start sits columns are coming out. These guys have all put in the work. It should come out, I guess, tomorrow morning or something like that. But yeah, go check it out. Top tight ends to stream. So, what guys do y'all think are in the streaming segment?
I would say number 1's Juwan Johnson. I'm going to go more in depth later in the show if we get to sleepers for the week, who we should add. But Juwan Johnson had 11 targets from Dylan Gabriel in this Spencer Rattler in this last game.
Same thing.
It was impressive. He had a 27% target share from a tight end. That's kind of crazy. So it looks like he's going to be a big part of the offense. And other guys I'd look for, Harold Fannin, he looked really good. And Brenton Strange, shout out Brenton Strange, because I like what he's doing in Jacksonville, taking over for Evan Ingram. He looked good this week.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with those 3. I can't really think of anybody else. Maybe Jatavian Sanders. I forget who the Panthers are playing this week. But Bryce Young's just abysmal week 1 historically.
Yeah.
Did you have that game pulled up, Logan?
They play the Cardinals in week 2.
Cardinals?
So
okay.
Juwan Johnson got 11 targets against the Cardinals. So
yeah, that's what I'm – exactly. And that's on a bad Saints team, like Alex said, with Spencer Rattler. That's amazing. We do have another comment. Michael Goldfield, Tyler Warren to the moon. It is happening, baby. It is happening. And I'm so glad I changed my stance midway through the offseason on Warren because I was very out since he was a late producer. But then I said, you know what? Screw it. He's probably going to be good. And here we go. He's going to be good. We have one more comment here from Benjamin. I have Chase, Worthy, Hunter, and Waddle as my receivers, and Brown and Hendo as my top 2 running backs. Should I trade Chase Brown for Hampton and Pearsall?
That's interesting. Pearsall now with Kittle out, Juwan Jennings out, he's going to dominate target share even more. I kind of like that trick. I do think Hampton, I know he kind of struggled week 1, but I do think he may dominate that backfield. I don't know how much Najee Harris is really going to account for in that backfield in LA.
I doubt. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think Najee's going to contribute at all. I think he's going to get maybe like what he got in that Friday game, maybe like eight carries most of the game. Like Hampton's going to be that guy, and he plays pass downs, he plays rundowns. So you can get Hampton for at the end of the season when you're looking back at that trade. He could be the same value as Chase, if not better. You saw the Bengals struggled as well week 1. They always that's like a Bengals thing to struggle week 1, especially for Burrow. But I'm with Logan on this one. I think that's a good trade.
I think it might fill a need for you because now you don't have Worthy and you'd have to start either Hunter or Waddle in your roster. So having Pearsall, at least for these few weeks while Worthy's out, might be useful. But I'm a huge Chase Brown guy, and I think he has a chance to be a top 3 running back in fantasy this year. So it's given up a lot. But, if you can get like Hollywood Brown off waivers or someone like that that can step in for a few weeks while Worthy's out, I might not do the trade, but I think it does help you positionally.
Yeah, I think that it's a very even trade because Chase Brown's definitely going to get the most volume. However, the biggest concern I saw from week 1, besides the Bengals just being slow in week 1, was the fact that Samaj P. Ryan is taking away some of the pass down work from Chase Brown. And it does seem like they're making a concerted effort to cut his workload down a little bit after last year. So I love Chase Brown. He's just if he's not getting passes or as many passes as he was, that's going to be hard. But Hampton and Pearsall are both going to be limited too, ceiling wise. Hampton's in a Greg Roman offense. They love committees over there. And even if Najee averages 1.3 yards per carry, so be it. I mean, they talked about Kamani Vidal being part of the gosh, I can't even think of the word, the committee, while Najee was out, like seriously, and they meant it. Pearsall, I love for the upcoming weeks, and especially George Kittle with a hamstring out, for minimum 4 weeks. Those soft tissue injuries on a big guy like that who's 30-something years old, that's a really tough injury to get beginning of the season. So Pearsall could be in for a lot of work. I'd say, I like to roll and gamble. I'd say go for it because later on down the road, once Hampton starts balling out, because he's going to have better games than what he had. You could be able to trade him and get some more stuff here. Man, we're getting a lot of comments. This is good. I'm going to really quickly, before we hit these comments so we can move the show forward just a little bit, I'm going to give my my victory laps. And I took the liberty. I'm giving y'all 3, okay? Because I've been shouting from the rooftop for 3 of these guys, and I'm just going to do it. Harold Fannin Jr., Bill Krosky-Merritt, Bashal Tootin. Now, Bashal has not done anything yet performance-wise, but he's so good that they traded Tank Bigsby away, and that says something. But I'll focus on the other 2. Harold Fannin, I was talking about this for a couple weeks now. He's got the most impressive tight end season of all time in college, more than Tyler Warren. Played for Bowling Green, drafted in the 3rd round. Browns definitely had a plan for him. Sat with the starters throughout preseason, played with the starters in that last preseason game. And he's not – I don't think he's going to, overtake Njoku, but he's going to play beside Njoku. Like, this is going to be a true, dual tight end team. And he's getting gadget plays. Like, the dude was lining up in the backfield as a fullback. He lined up as a Wildcat quarterback. Like, they're going to run him. They're going to throw him those easy passes and let him make plays down the field. I'm not expecting him to be a top, 6 tight end, but I think top 12 is definitely within the realm because tight end's a barren wasteland. And so, once we get to the waivers part, this is the guy for me. Bill definitely, Austin Eckler got most of the work on Sunday, but Bill came in. He did have most of the rushing work, 10 carries and 82 yards. He had a pretty big breakaway run that he made. PFF actually graded him as the number 1 running back this week. True. So I don't know what that means, but what are we doing? How was he drafted in the 7th round? This is crazy.
I think it was just the fear of him, in that Commanders offense, with Daniels and stuff. I think it's just the fear of the unknown. It happens every year. It happened with Kyron Williams. It happens with him, obviously. So,
there's always somebody.
Roll the dice.
Yeah. Yeah. What's it cost? 1 week of rostering a guy that could just be a bad. I mean, you're probably going to do that if you draft, certain players earlier on. But yeah, those are my guys. I love them. And it's going to be hard. This is the hardest part, after talking about these guys for so long is now everybody else is in on them. And it's oh man, now everybody knows, dude. This is a bummer, but it's good to be in early. All right, let's get into some of these questions really quick. Michael is just chatting it up tonight. He's trying to win his league. Michael says, "How will Marvin Harrison Jr. and the Cardinals be this year?" I'll let you all take that. I ain't got nothing good to say.
It looks promising week 1. What are you talking about? He looked like he was getting used more. It looked like Kyler Murray was targeting first read a little bit more than last year. He ended up with a touchdown, 6 targets. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's what you want to see week 1. And they're playing against the Saints.
Marvin Harrison. You go ahead, Dom. You go ahead.
No, you're good, Logan.
I was just going to say, Kyler really, you can't really trust him week in and week out. He's really just inconsistent. And for me, Trey McBride still led the team in targets. He's still going to be the first read in this offense, in my opinion. And like I said, Marvin Harrison Jr., I think a really good receiver. I just can't trust Kyler. Really, even drive to drive, you can't really trust Kyler.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in with Logan on this one. I think it's too run heavy. That team, I think that offense runs to not Trey Benson, but the run game in
James
general.
Conner.
Just the run game in general. I think he's like I said, I think he's going to be used the same way as last year. He's going to have some good games. He's a deep threat. Um, but he's not going to give you a consistent, 15 to 22-point games per week. He's going to have big games and he's going to have some busts. So I wouldn't start him as your top two wide receiver, like wide receiver one, wide receiver two. If you need a flex, I like him as a flex, but I know probably AC or other people might have him as wide receiver too. So
Yeah, and my attitude towards him is nothing against him. Nothing. Like, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I drafted him in every league last year in the rookie drafts before I took Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I thought he was a better prospect than Malik, and now I got egg on my face. But it's not that he's a bad receiver. It's the function of the offense. It's the way the offense runs, and it is the inconsistencies of Kyler. I still think Kyler's a good fantasy quarterback, but the quality of the targets that Marvin gets. I mean, Kyler missed him on like a wide open pass at what probably could have been like a 90-something yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's just like that's what you get with Kyler. And as somebody who had Marvin last year in a lot of leagues, this was pretty normal. I mean, he's not bad. He's going to be average. The ceiling case for Marvin Harrison, I just don't think is there. So, man, we have questions out the wazoo. Let's get it. We're going to go to the panic meter in just a minute, but we're going to answer some of these questions. Josh Allen and Ricky Pearsall for Christian McCaffrey and Terry or James Conner.
Where are you getting Josh Allen? If you're getting Josh Allen, I would take that pretty quickly, but I don't know what in the trade you are.
Yeah, Tom Brady. Whoa. Tell us who this is.
Whoa, really? You would take Josh Allen and Pearsall over
I'm taking CMC.
A top 5 running back and a top 15 receiver? Like, I don't think there's any way that
I don't trust McCaffrey to stay healthy for an entire year, and Terry McLaurin held out the entire offseason.
As y'all saw from
they gave him a lot of money though, Terry. They gave him a lot of money to stay in Washington, and they're going to use him if they paid him that.
Yeah, if you saw my my mock draft, I am not afraid. I will take Christian McCaffrey, and if he dies week 5, so be it. But yeah, I'm taking McCaffrey, and I think Allen, like we saw like the peak Allen in week 1. That's gonna be the hardest part because now they're gonna play some lesser teams, and they're gonna be a more of a balanced offense. They're gonna run the ball a lot more. Allen's still going to be good. Like, he still will be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy, no doubt. But the difference between a top 5 quarterback and a top 20 quarterback is way different than the top 5 running back versus like a top 20 running back in my mind. So we'll go here. Lala, she asked, should I bench Njoku for Fannin? This is where it gets hard with the Fannin. And because I brought up Fannin, I know I'm responsible for this. It's going to take a couple weeks to see what happens. I don't think you're going to lose. Like, I don't think you're going to get a 0 if you put Fannin in for Njoku. But like I said, I think they're both going to have a role, and it's going to take us a couple weeks to see what that role looks like. And I think Njoku, I love Njoku. I think Njoku's a great tight end. But yeah, I think before we bench Njoku for Fannin, I think we just need to see what the role is after a couple games with Fannin. So it's a great question.
Yeah. I mean, still starting Njoku now. That's still starting.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I mean, I would probably start Fannin, but that's just me. Sharp. I got offered James Conner. James Conner's just getting dealt all over the place. I got offered James Conner and Waddle for ETN. Do I accept even if I have to drop somebody like Keenan Allen? Dude, I'm
that
keeping
Miami
ETN.
offense is terrible.
Yeah. I was going to talk about Miami in a little bit. But yeah, Miami looks really scary right now. And then ETN, like I think people just overall slept on ETN. He was going way too late in drafts. 143 yards on 16 carries. Like he's not cooked. He's only 27, I think. So I like that. All right, one more question, then we're moving. Tom, what up, Tom? Thoughts on Tyrone Tracy? Thinking about trying to offer him for Keenan Allen. I have CMC, Brees, Tracy, and Ramondre.
It's tough with the offensive line
Tracy
and the offense in general.
I don't think we saw anything that should scare you off Tracy this week. Yes, they played against a pretty good team. Running was not in the cards for them when they were down early. And Scatterboot didn't take any carries. Scatterboot had 2 carries for -2 yards. So there's not the whole competition aspect that was knocking Tracy down draft boards. I think you should keep Tyrone Tracy, especially because, I mean, CMC and Brees, those are 2 guys that are very like high ceiling, low floor guys. Tracy's a good one to have in the mix as well on your team.
Yeah, this is another one where this is, you're making a bet on something pretty early that we don't have any patterns for. We don't know if Keenan's going to keep up with what he did week 1. He had a great week 1, but they were very pass heavy in that game against Kansas City. And I think that's what you have to be against Kansas City because I think they're pretty good against the run. And Tracy, they were down. They're not going to run him a ton. And like Alex said, I'm not scared of Scatterbo. Like I love Scatterbo, but dog, if you watch him, every time he goes to break a tackle or run a guy over, he puts his head straight down and runs his head directly into their chest. Look, I was there when Ryan Shazier got paralyzed. That's exactly what he did. And it scares the crap out of me that Scatterbo does that like every play. And I'm scared of his life after football, the way he plays. So, I think right now, wait on Tracy, give him a little bit. I don't think his job's in jeopardy, and I think that he is going to have some better games here soon. So, thank you everybody for the questions. This has been fun. I like answering all these questions. If you're just showing up, we're going through our victory laps. You can go back and watch some of those. Now we're going to hit the panic meter. We're going to talk about some players that we are panicking on or situations that we're panicking on, but also some players that we're holding, that we're not scared on, that we're going to give them a little bit of time. And we're going to dialogue back and forth. So if anybody disagrees with anybody, let's give out both cases. So we're going to start with Alex on this one. Alex, who are you panicking on this week?
I'm panicking on Cooper Kupp because I had him in fantasy last year. And he was rough after he came back from injury for the last 6 weeks of the season. He was putting up 3 points every other week. And the hope was with Seattle, with Sam Darnold, he would come out and he'd still be his old self. And we saw none of that. He had 3 points this week. So everything we thought was bad about Cooper Kupp last season, he's showing again this one. It doesn't seem like a fresh start for him. And I'm pretty scared. I wouldn't start him in any league until he proves he can get a consistent target share because I think he only got 3 targets this week. Yeah. Not a good week for Kupp. Not happy about him.
Yeah, and I'll actually go against you. I'll say I'm not panicking on Cooper Kupp, but mainly because I didn't draft any Cooper Kupp. The panicking was last year. To me, it was dead. I love Cooper Kupp as a player, but he did not look the same. And if the Rams love this guy, Stafford. This was his guy. Yeah. If they were so willing to trade him to a divisional opponent, they knew something that they weren't telling us. So, it's a good one because I know a lot of people hit the draft button on Cooper Kupp, and I don't blame him. His ceiling was awesome, but unfortunately, his body's not there. Who are you holding this week, Alex? Who didn't perform week 1 that you're holding on to?
Yeah, T. Higgins had a T. Higgins week. Every other week, T. Higgins will score 40 fantasy points, and then he'll score 5. So it was the 5 this week. I think he's going to score 40 next week. So I think that some people were saying, oh, he's not even the top 20 receiver this upcoming week. Disagree. Bengals had a weird offensive day against the Browns. 7 passing yards in the second half, I think, or 7 offensive yards. Something
7
crazy.
offensive yard, yeah.
Yeah, 7 offensive yards in the second half. But
Yeah.
that won't last. Higgins is gonna have a great week next week or the next week. You never know, but he's still gonna be a top 20 receiver when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's a pretty good bet to just every other week. If he has a bad week, the next week he is going to pop off.
Yeah, exactly.
They are playing the Jags, and I do not believe in that Jags defense. So, that's going to be a high-scoring affair. T going to eat. Anybody else have any comments on those?
I mean, yeah, that Bengals offense always kind of starts slow, but like I think we were talking about before, it always ramps up. I mean, Chase had 12 points. Are you going to bench Chase? No, you're starting both these guys weekly, and if you drafted T Higgins in the 3rd round, you're not going to bench him. You're not going to trade him. Hold out. If we're sitting here week 5, week 6, and we're still getting 5 points from Higgins, then we start to, okay, maybe it's a 2023 Higgins again, where he was averaging 8 points per week, but he was hurt. So, but I like we said, you drafted these guys early. We're gonna start them.
Yeah, Chase had 4 points. Higgins had 6. We're gonna see him go up from there.
If you can try buy low on Higgins, because you're not going to get Chase or Burrow, but try buy low on Higgins. So,
yep. All right, Alex does have to head out, unfortunately. So thank you, Alex, for giving us your insight. We're going to read your article tomorrow morning, right?
Awesome. Yeah, pleasure, guys. Yeah, go read the article when it comes out tomorrow. Yep.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you later, Alex.
See you.
All right, so there goes Alex. We do have a quick comment here from our boy Kendrick. And Kendrick was sorely upset after the Panthers did not show up week 1, but Kendrick's dropped T to his wide receiver 2 for Emeka Egbuka, and I think that's the right move for right now, and then that will probably change next week when Emeka goes 2 for 17 and 0 touchdowns, and then T goes, 8 for 146 and 2 touchdowns. So appreciate that, Kendrick. All right, Dom, let's hear from you. Who are you panicking on this week?
I am panicking on Kenneth Walker, and I actually had an argument with somebody on Twitter about, not an argument, but we had a long discussion about Kenneth Walker's usage going into the season and how much he's going to be used in the run game, in the pass game, and we saw that he got 10 carries this game, and you know who got 12? Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet got 12 carries, and both of them altogether averaged 3.2 yards per carry, but again, it's not about how many they get. It's not about, any running back in any week. Running backs for the entirety of fantasy could be absolutely terrible and still get 25 points. So it doesn't matter what running back it is. It's going to be who's getting reps. And Charbonnet, when I was watching that game, you noticed Charbonnet. You did not notice Kenneth Walker. And again, not a big game from either of them, but you noticed Charbonnet on the field, and I feel like this is going to be like this. What do you call it? It's just a matter of who gets on field, and I think it's going to be Charbonnet. He looked 100% better. So, and that Seattle offense doesn't just have them two. It has, like you said, Cooper Kupp. It has JSN.
George Lonnie.
Yes. So it's going to be, and it has Sam Darnold too. We're forgetting that. It's not Geno Smith who's going to check it down every time. It's Sam Darnold who goes for bigger plays. He had Justin Jefferson last year. He's not going for those dink and dunk passes every time. So I wouldn't panic, like trade him immediately, but keep an eye on him. He's very, I would drop him down to an RB2 this week.
Yeah, I think the fact that like Charbonnet got the goal line carry to score the touchdown, and he got all the reps in a 2-minute drive to close out the game. So I think I saw a stat with Kenneth Walker had like 40% of the snap for the snaps, and I don't know, Charbonnet kind of looked better to me, and Kenneth Walker always deals with injuries. I've kind of avoided Kenneth Walker in every league that I'm in. I don't really use the 3rd round, 4th round draft capital on him.
Yeah, I was really big on Kenneth Walker, actually, this offseason. I just think he's extremely talented, although he's, had a lot of injuries, and there was a lot of camp reports about injuries. But with Clint Kubiak coming over there as the offensive coordinator, I was just very excited. He runs a really, really good run offense. And I'm with Dom. Like, this is making me panic a little bit because, Charbonnet kind of fits that a little better. And it seems the team may think that as well. Now, like I said, weeks 1 through 4, it's hard to make any hard stances on players because you're seeing a lot of things, trial and error, come out, and things that were different from last year that we don't know are sticky. So you kind of have to wait and see. They do play the Steelers this week, and the Steelers just got torched on the run by Fields, Brees. Kenneth could pop off here. And the best part about Kenneth Walker is he's a home run hitter. So he's going to get 8 carries and go for 6 yards, have a terrible yard per carry rate, but then he's going to break off that one for 60. Very Saquon-esque in that way. And if the Seahawks O-line can improve throughout the season, I think Kenneth could be fine. But for right now, I'm definitely with you on panicking. Now, who are you holding this week, Dom?
I am actually holding Calvin Ridley. I've kind of been big on him. He didn't have the greatest game. He had 4 catches for 27 yards, but he also had 8 targets. He had 8 targets in week 1 with Cam Ward, who's his first game, against the Denver defense where he was literally being blanketed the entire game by Surtain. So, I mean, maybe temper expectations the first couple weeks until they get their rapport a little bit on point, but 8 targets is nothing to bat an eye about, especially for a rookie quarterback playing a top defense. And it wasn't even that crazy of a game too. It wasn't like the Broncos blew them out as much as I know Trey would like them have liked them to blow them out, but it was 2012, so it's not, they're going to be passing a lot. They're going to be behind in games. I would start him at a flex spot this week. See how he does. Mm-hmm. If it's consistent, if his targets are going down, then we can panic. But look to Alex said, look to buy low on these guys. These hold guys that like Higgins, these Calvin Ridleys. These are good wide receiver 2s. Wide receiver, Higgins is wide receiver 1, but these are good guys to buy low on because people are like panicking. So
yeah, and to your point, Ridley's not going to be lined up against Surtain every week, and he also produced last year with Will Levis at quarterback, and Cam Ward's, clearly an upgrade at quarterback. So Ridley may take some time, but like you said, 8 targets, 4 receptions. The production's going to come. It's just rookie quarterback, early season, tough defensive matchup. I'm not really worried about Ridley at all either.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, I'm not worried about Ridley at all. That this was to be expected. You're going against probably the best defense in football right now. Rookie quarterback, terrible team, and they've got one receiver to target in on, and it's Calvin. And so, and Calvin did have a bad drop that could have improved his fantasy line this week. More so than anything, you got to look at the numbers. And this is the biggest cheat code, because I know there's a lot of people that watch this show that are kind of newer to fantasy or don't know a ton about fantasy football. But one of the biggest cheat codes with buying receivers in your leagues is buying these guys who have bad weeks against good defenses, and people panic. If somebody's panicking on Calvin Ridley right now and they're willing to trade you like Ridley for, some lesser receiver or running back talent, like, you got to do that ASAP, because Ridley had 8 targets. Like, the ball was going his way. He had plenty of opportunities, and that's going to continue. He is Cam Ward's guy. Like, I'm just not worried about Ridley. So if you're looking to improve in your fantasy skill, like, go look at the numbers on the ESPN box score. Go look at targets that guys earned. And like, Drake London's a great example too. Drake London had I think it was 8 catches for 55 yards this week, and just looks terrible. And there could be people panicking about Drake London. He had 15 targets. 15 targets, brother. Like, that is elite. That's more than Jamar Chase got. That's like Malik Neighbors' numbers from last year, and with that many opportunities, he's going to play well. So, just buy these guys who get, elite target shares and don't perform against bad defenses, that's going to happen. It's fantasy football. So, help us out. If you want to see this every week, guys, make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, your family, but maybe don't share it with your league mates because, you don't want them to know all the answers, and we're giving you all the answers. We are on the road to winning money this year, all of us. So, Logan, you have a receiver you're panicking on, and I'm excited to hear this one. So tell me why you're panicking.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, you could be easily panicking on anybody on the Dolphins after that week 1 performance. And to me, his lack of production dates back to last season. And a lot of people before this season, he was a 3rd-round pick. People pretty much view that as a steal, as a value with Tua back, but it's pretty much most of the same. He only had 4 catches for 40 yards. Defenses have seemed to figure out this Mike McDaniel offense, and really what they're doing is that they're dropping the linebackers and safeties more and forcing Tua to throw more accurate passes deeper down the field to Tyreek. And when you see, there was a play earlier this week where Tyreek, he was running a deep in route, and the defenders knew exactly what the route was, and Tua overthrew it and threw a pick. And for me, Tyreek, there was also another stat where Tyreek hasn't had a 30-yard catch in literally a calendar year, which I think was exactly yesterday. It's 365 days since his last 30-yard catch. For me, if you are a Tyreek Hill owner, I think the panic's probably at 9 or 10. And I think the only saving grace for him is if he gets traded to a contending team, at some point this season. Yep.
I'm right there with you. That's his only saving grace is Kansas City or Pittsburgh, the 2 teams that are reportedly in on him. And although I don't think he'd be great in Pittsburgh, I think Kansas City would love to have Tyreek back. That would be – and us, the fans, well, maybe not all the fans because people hate the Chiefs, but me and Logan, we like the Chiefs. I'm a big Chiefs guy. I'd love to see them bring Tyreek back. But, yeah, that Dolphins offense, it's scary, man, real scary, nightmare fuel. And I've got a lot of Devon Achane and or Achane. And, I'm just a little nervous. I think he's still going to be fine, but that offense just – Tua looked so bad. And he was blaming everybody else after the game. Not good. So go ahead, Dom.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think to your point, like you mentioned Devon Achane, I think he's the only safe one in this. For anybody who has any Dolphins, Waddle, Tua, Hill, Achane, I think Achane. Yeah, I think Achane is the only safe, really, start every single week option. I mean, obviously, you're going to start Hill next week. You're going to start Waddle, maybe. If you have other options, I would start Higgins over Waddle. I would start Higgins over Hill. I know that may be crazy, but don't just start somebody because they have a flashy name like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, it's not 2023 anymore, dude. That was 2 years ago. Tyreek hasn't been Tyreek since 2023. So
exactly.
I'm with you. Now, Logan, who are you holding on this week?
So holding on. So obviously you're not going to trade this player or move him, but Jahmyr Gibbs, for me, a lot of people are kind of freaking out about that Detroit Lions performance. I'm not reading too much into it. He had 10 catches for 31 yards. I know that output is very low for 10 receptions, but he's too athletic a player, too gifted a player to only have that many yards on those amount of catches. And there's really a good possibility that the Packers are a top 5 defense with Micah Parsons coming into town. So Detroit, for me, there are worrisome signs there, but I think Gibbs is still going to produce. And obviously, you're not going to trade him or anything, but I do think if people are panicking, they shouldn't on Gibbs.
Yeah, I'm very not panicked on the Lions offense. That was just a bad showing. It was outdoors in Green Bay, which, their Lions are a dome team, so they can still play outdoors. But, I'm like you said, the Packers defense is real. I mean, it's very legit. As much as I hate to say it, it's a great defensive unit. And they just couldn't get anything going anywhere. And that game just became kind of a real snooze fest really fast. So Gibbs is, we were drafting him top 5. Some of us were drafting him 101. Crazy people, we're taking him 101. But I think he's still going to be fine. What do you think, Dom?
I think 100%. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think that people realize that they're not going to have a split like they did last year with him and Montgomery. Ben Johnson's not there anymore. He was the one who was doing the splits. He really orchestrated that, and I think people got the wrong idea where, I mean, people drafted Montgomery high. He's a great handcuffs, and he's going to do good. He's going to give you at least 10 points a week. I think that's his base average. But I think people forget how good Gibbs is, and they're going to use him. Whatever this Lion team is, whatever it takes for them to win, they're going to win. They're going to use Amon-Ra. They're going to use Jamison Williams. They're going to use Gibbs. Start their star players. Start good teams, star players. Especially, it's not like, a crazy crowded offense. It's 3 guys. 4 if you're counting Montgomery and Laporta, obviously. But it's
5 if you're counting Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla. Dynasty hot pick right there.
That's right.
But this Lions offense is good. They're in a tough division. They're gonna be behind in some games like they were, but Gibbs isn't just running the ball. He's catching the ball as well. So in PPR leagues, always start him. Standard leagues, like Cameron said, you drafted him maybe 101, 105, depending where. You're gonna start him every week. So buy him low. If you could trade somebody who had a great game, buy him low. Get around 1 talent.
I'd trade Chase Brown for him straight up.
100%.
And if somebody's dumb enough to do that, you just laugh your way to the championship, brother. Did y'all see the Isaac Tesla touchdown catch?
Yes.
That was sick.
He's good. He's real. They always as a Bears fan, they always somehow luck into these late round wide receivers that come out of absolutely nowhere. So he's really, really good. And like I just said, he's in a great offense, so he's gonna excel.
Yeah, he's a dog. What's his Stephanie, who writes for the Lions with FanFeed, she's been talking about this law for a couple weeks now, and him being a guy to look out for. So shout out to Stephanie. That was a great call out. And I'll just share quickly that I'm not worried about Gibbs one bit. He had 10 catches on 10 targets. So if you're in a PPR league, you got your 10, and then you add 5 with the rush. I mean, he got 15 points and probably the worst game we've seen from Gibbs in 2 years. So if that's, what we're going to get on his bad game, I'm not worried in the slightest. The split was still there. And I think if the offensive slump, with Ben Johnson leaving, I think most people predicted that the Lions offense was going to take a little bit of a step back. And this is part of that. They go into Green Bay, really tough defense. They get punched in the mouth. They're going to have to make adjustments. And, I think that they will lean more on Gibbs as the season goes on. Montgomery did outrush him 11-9 carries. But as much as I love Montgomery, Gibbs is just so much better with the ball in his hands. So, not worrying about Gibbs. I'll hit mine, and I'll try to go quick because we're running out of time. We probably will cut it off, hard stop around 9. So if anybody's got any more questions, feel free to drop them in there. We'll answer some questions before we head out of here. But I'm I'm scared about the Eagles' offense, guys. Scared. That was a pretty weird game. I don't think it's sticky. I don't think that will be the norm. But it was so weird. It was such a change from last year that it really scares me. So one of the things, after rushing so much with Saquon last year, they're trying to preserve him by bringing out Shipley. And then we saw A.J. Dillon because Shipley got hurt. They just traded for Tank Bigsby as well. So they are very much committed to, splitting up the backfield some. And I don't think that's going to affect Saquon but so much. I mean, he still had 60 yards and a touchdown. And he had more receiving, points. But I'm more worried about how they operated in the passing game. And they were throwing the ball to Dallas Goedert. They threw it to him, I think 8-9 times. And he got 44 yards on those targets. Very gross, very yucky. Jahan Dotson had a deep target and came down with 3 catches for like 50 yards. And then you got A.J. Brown, 1 catch for 8 yards at the end of the game, the very end of the game. And AJ's, I think, arguably a top 5 wide receiver talent in the league right now. So for him to go and have that happen is just bad. Devontae Smith had 3 catches. I was telling these guys, or I said it earlier, I think that their wide receivers had a 35% target share total for the team. So they were throwing mainly to the tight ends and the running backs. They're just playing a very conservative style of offense. And I don't know if that's game plan, that they were just wanted to go first down after first down against the Cowboys to keep the ball out of Dak's hands and that explosive offense. Or if that's going to be sticky throughout the season. And that's something I'm scared of, because if you're drafting A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, you got to be a little nervous about, the output you got from those guys. Before I go to the hold, unless y'all want to say anything about the Eagles offense, where y'all?
I mean, just for me, I take it with a grain of salt. I understand your panic though. Like, I'm sure Logan, Deron Bland was on Smith, Trayvon Diggs was on Brown most of the game. So it's a tough defensive matchup, even without Parsons. And I think they opened that hole a little bit with their rushing. They exposed that a little bit, but I agree. I think I'm panicking a little bit as well. Like, even if it's a tough, DB game for these wide receivers, it's still very, very tough. And it's not encouraging when Hurts isn't encouraged to throw the ball the whole time. Like, if he wants to run, you saw, I think the one play, he kind of just jogged out of bounds. Like, he took it it was like a 1st and 10 and he just jogged right out of bounds. So he's going to do that rather than toss a quick slant to somebody like Smith or A.J. Brown. So whatever, it's a little concerning. I don't know about you, Logan.
Yeah, for me, the Eagles offense, we kind of saw this last year. They're going to build around the run game. Jalen Hurts, he doesn't have to use his receivers to have success. He can take off and run. As A.J. Brown, dynasty owner, I definitely understand the frustration, because it was the same. It's kind of par of course. We saw this last season. So I'm a little panicked, but at the same time, it's something that I kind of expected with this offense. And A.J. Brown, he had a hamstring injury the entire offseason, so he may just be getting back up to speed. So maybe that's the case. I'm not as panicked as you guys, but it's definitely something to watch moving forward.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that the Cowboys defense showed out that game. They did play really well. I do think those corners are buns. I think they're overpaid buns. Deron Bland, he's just a pick artist. Trayvon Diggs is the exact same, except probably worse. That's why it concerned me, because I think it happens with these Super Bowl winning teams. They win some Super Bowls and then they come out the following year and they have great teams and they just try to play this game of possession. And they play this real slow style of football to just win games at a very slow pace. And, they lost their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, over there with the Saints. And, just worried about how that affects the team as a whole. So not full panic, sell A.J. Brown, sell Devonta Smith. It's over. We got to see what's sticky and what's not. And we'll see that in the upcoming weeks. In the same game, my hold is George Pickens. I was a big George Pickens guy throughout the offseason, and I still am. Pickens did almost make a one-handed grab, like a 50-yard one-handed grab. He was held all over by those doo-doo defensive backs, and I just think Pickens is going to command more targets. I think it was week 1, Dak fresh back off an injury. Leaned on CD, but it's going to go more to Pickens, and Pickens is going to be like a T. Higgins. He's going to have games where he doesn't get as much action because they're focused in on Lamb, and that's a really good defense. That's the other part, so we're going to see them play lesser defenses, and I think Pickens is going to be just fine. All right, we got a couple questions, so I want to make sure that we hit these. So Lala's back. Start Devontae Adams or Shakir. Adams is the reason I lost. Yeah, that was a tough game. Who does Shakir play? Who do the Bills play in week 2?
Bills play the Jets.
Yeah, I'm starting Devontae Adams, la.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
easy for me.
Yeah, the Texans have a really good defense. And I didn't watch the whole game, but I can almost guarantee that Puka was playing in the slot, leaving Devontae on Derek Stingley Jr. And for him to do what he did against Derek Stingley, because I still think he commanded 7 or 8 targets. That's exactly what you want to see from a guy who's joining a team brand new. Tough defense, low scoring game. Week 2 should be a lot better for the Rams. Who are they playing week 2?
Titans.
Yeah.
Titans. Oh man,
Yeah.
Devontae Adams might have 2 touchdowns this week. So yeah, keep Devontae Adams in your roster this week.
And I think, if I'm not wrong, I think Puka's battling a shoulder injury right now. I know.
Okay.
I think he's expected to start, but something to keep an eye on. I know he got hurt in the middle of the Texans game, so
Right.
they're definitely gonna.
Was he tested for a concussion during that game? Is that what? I think he hurt, like his eye was bleeding.
That's
and then
what
he
it was.
tested for
Okay, yeah, it was a
I believe.
concussion. I'm confusing that with somebody else.
No,
Yeah, but I know
you're
in the
good.
middle of that game, yeah, he was. So if
Yeah.
they might roll him out. Concussions are weird.
Yeah, Shakir also, like, he's just a guy to me. He's going to get you probably 10 to 12 points per game. Sometimes he'll throw a touchdown in there, get you 17, 18. But, I'd much rather Devontae because he can get you 2 touchdowns, 100 yards easily. And going against the Titans, who might not be that bad, but I think Bo Nix is in sophomore slump season. But don't tell Trey, guys, because Trey will be real upset.
I agree.
But it is sophomore slump season. Another comment from Michael Goldfield. Panic on Kittle, or will he come back strong? Man, it's going to be a while. The
fact that they put
injury.
him on IR.
Yeah,
the fact they put him on IR already, it's like if they wouldn't have done that, they had hope that he could come back quicker, like in 2-3 weeks. But this could be a 5 to 6 week injury.
Yeah, easily, and that's what's scary. And hamstrings are those ones that linger. You're healed, like you come back better, but when you come back, you're not as efficient. You're still kind of nursing it. You're playing differently because you had a hamstring injury. It's, it's scary. And the worst part is there's not really, they have that guy Tonge, the backup tight end. I'm not interested in him off the waiver wire this week. If you've got nobody else to add and you've got a free spot to take him, like take a flyer, but he is just a guy. I think they're going to be slinging it. Ricky is all the way up. And Christian McCaffrey really is the biggest beneficiary. And if he can stay healthy, like I saw a tweet earlier that Christian McCaffrey's just absorbing all the health from all the other players on the team to keep him healthy through the season. And I think that's a pretty fair approach. So cool. Thanks for the comments, guys. We're going to move on to our week 2 look ahead. And we're going to add some guys here. Who do we add off the waiver wire tonight, add to our teams? And then who are we definitely starting next week? I will share Alex's really quick because I really liked his. His were 2 guys that I really liked off the waiver wire. So Juwan Johnson, he mentioned earlier, 11 targets in that Saints offense, tight end. Tight end is a barren wasteland. And if you can find one who's getting you above average points, that's great. That offense, the Saints offense, ran at a much higher pace than they did last year with Kellen Moore at the helm. So Spencer Rattler actually threw 46 passes, which is a really big deal. So more passes means more opportunities for the receivers. I really think Chris Olave is a good buy. If anybody's really low on him, he's a good buy. And then Alex had Dylan Sampson. Add Dylan Sampson from the Browns, and I'm right there with him. Sampson had 8 targets for 8 catches. He didn't rush for a whole lot. Jerome Ford did a lot of that, but the Browns have always run a 2-back system. Even years ago, people forget that it was Chubb and Kareem Hunt for a long time. And so now you got Sampson, you got Quinshon Judkins finally signing with the team. projected to maybe even start this week. And some people might be scared off of Sampson because of that. But Judkins was not a pass catching back throughout college. In fact, they had to have another guy named Travion Henderson catch all the passes. And so this is a similar system. The Browns teams cannot lie through the draft. And they definitely wanted to reinvest in the run game. They go and draft Quinshon Judkins in the second, but then they draft a second guy in the fourth, which, is mind-boggling for a rebuilding team. I don't think it was the right move, but they are showing you their intentions that they want to run 2 running backs. And Sampson profiles as a perfect pass-catching back for this team. So right there with him. And then starting Stephon Diggs this week. I think that they play the Dolphins.
Yes.
They might play the Dolphins this week. Yeah. So Diggs against the Dolphins, he had a pretty decent game. Dolphins are a hot dumpster fire. Just got torn up by none other than Daniel Jones, only the second cross-eyed quarterback to ever play in the NFL. So Diggs could be a very good play. So, Logan, let's move on to you. Who are you adding off the waiver wire this week?
So I have 2 players I'm adding. I'm adding Bashal Tutin, who you've mentioned multiple times. The Tank Bigsby trade to the Eagles opens up opportunity for Tutin. And Travis Etienne, really good week 1, but he has battled through nagging injuries throughout his career. So it's not a guarantee that he's going to stay healthy throughout this season. So Tutin is a good handcuff who could end up being a starting running back on your roster if Etienne went down. And then Did
you see the tweet from the beat reporter from the Jag saying that now with Bashal Tutin firmly in the Bucky Irving role?
That Bucky Irving won people leagues last year, so if he's in that role, definitely a winner.
He was a late bloomer, and Rachaad White actually started the year off really strong last year, and they still went with Bucky. So Bashal, handpicked by this organization. That's a great pick. I love it, Logan. Great, Logan. Let's go.
We've seen this team too move on from running backs like there's no tomorrow. Like, does anybody remember James Robinson when he was relevant in fantasy? Like, they move on from these guys like there's no tomorrow. So I wouldn't hold anybody so close to you as a Jaguars running backs, and I would, like Logan said, Tutin's a very sneaky pickup.
Yeah, and then my second player, Quentin Johnston, had 2 touchdowns, 79 yards, 5 receptions. He's a perfect. I think he's a wide receiver 3 on that roster. You could argue he's wide receiver 2, but I do think for them, he is a perfect wide receiver 3 behind Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen. And I think having those 2 in front of him is just going to open up even more deep shots for him. So I think as long as he catches the ball, which he has struggled doing throughout his 2 years, I think as long as he does that, he could really be a really sneaky steal off the waivers this week. And Justin Herbert, he threw 34 times last week. I don't know if that's going to continue, but if that trend does continue, he's obviously going to be a really good pickup.
Yep. Yeah. Is it finally going to happen for Quentin?
It should. He's in a good offense with a good quarterback. It should.
The most encouraging thing I saw from Quentin was that they actually gave him targets that were allowing him to make plays after the catch, which is he's such a weird player. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's a big dude, but he plays like a small guy. So like he wants to make plays after the catch, and that's really what he excels at. So they had him in this like possession receiver role for a while, but now that they have Ladd, now that they have Keenan, it really opens it up for Quentin. And so I actually really like the pick. Year 3 breakout is it's happening. So Dom, who are you adding off the waiver wire this week? / do you have any starts for us?
So I have one waiver wire ad, and I have one kind of smash start. I think it's gonna be really, really good. First, I'll give you the waiver wire. I think Kayshon Boutte is gonna be a really big mainstay in this Patriots offense. He had 103 yards his first week. He had 583 last year in total. So he's almost got a quarter of what he got last year in week 1. So they're obviously using him. People forget too, he's a first round pick. Like he's not he's not any bum. He had 8 targets this game. You're not gonna not look at somebody for for getting 8 targets. Drake May is finding his targets too. He's finding out who he likes to throw the ball to. I really like Stephon Diggs a lot, but I also like Booty as a flex start this week.
Nice.
I wouldn't be afraid to start him. He's going to get targets. Whether or not he does great with them, he's going to get the work. And I think Vrabel is finding out who May really, really likes to pass to.
Yeah, I love it.
And then my start, and I was gonna put him as my victory lap, but I think Deebo Samuel's so back. I think he's that
Fat Debo.
Yeah, dude, that Big Mac Debo. He's gained a lot of weight, but he still moves fast. Watching that rushing touchdown,
Yeah, that was
this
sick.
week, really, I want to do a backflip. I was so excited for him. I really did like him in San Fran, and I think in this Washington offense that moves around a lot, they're gonna use him as a garbage player. He's, we talked about Bill and we talked about Eckler getting reps at running back. Don't forget about him. He's going to be used out of the backfield. He's going to be used, and I think that was his biggest strength in fantasy when he was really, really productive on the 49ers. He's going to get a lot of work all over the field, whether he's catching balls, whether he's rushing for touchdowns. They don't technically don't have a running back one. Like Eckler, they're kind of in a committee, so he's gonna be played everywhere, and he's gonna get those those wide receiver screen sweeps and those crazy plays where he's moving around. So Terry's the wide receiver one there, but don't be afraid to plug him in. I even as a wide receiver two this week, he's gonna get a lot of work.
Yeah, I love it. I love Debo, and he was a guy I was definitely too low on. Listened to too many camp reports, and Debo's just a baller, and that's exactly what that offense needed, was a guy like that. Because besides McLaurin last year, Jade was throwing it to freaking Noah Brown, Diami Brown, who else? There was a couple other knuckleheads. They're just guys, and Debo kind of fills that role of that underneath easy, pass thing. So, yeah, I think that's going to be great for Jaden. We do have a question here from Eric. I think this is a pretty easy one. I like this. So, Tony Pollard for Kyle Pitts. I have Bijan, Bucky, and Hampton and ETN. My tight end is Ingram, but he actually might be out.
I think I'm holding on to Pollard. I think I'm going to hold on to Pollard.
I feel like you could pick up a tight end off of waiver wire.
Exactly. Kyle Pitts is not consistent. I would not trust Kyle Pitts.
So Eric, wait for the waivers. Try to get Harold Fannin. Try to get Juwan Johnson. Stream that tight end position. But with those running backs you have, I'll be honest, guys, I might be going for Pitts. I might be back in. I think that's up to you. See what the rest of your roster looks like. Pollard is going to be better. That game is not a good barometer for what Pollard's going to provide this season. In fact, he was probably one of my favorite later round running backs. And Pitts, this happens all the time. Like last year, week 1, Pitts balled out. These guys are right. I give in to my hype too much. It's probably keep Pollard, but see who you can get off the waiver wire. Maybe ask if this guy can throw something else in. Tell him Pitts is scary, and you need something else for insurance. If he's got any of these younger running backs who might not be starting right now, like a Bashal Tootin or who else? Gosh, I'm like the late round running back guy, and I can't think of anybody. But you get my picture. Get a handcuff running back, young guy. Maybe I would entertain it, but Pollard's definitely the better player in this deal. So, thank you, Eric. All right, so I'm gonna hit my ads and my my starts for this week, and mine are definitely deeper cuts. I don't think these guys you can. Well, maybe I'll just go. Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin had a great game week 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We all know there's been a void at the wide receiver 2 position. Austin actually had some really good games last year. He's a smaller guy, but he's fast, really fast, and apparently has a pretty good rapport with Aaron Rodgers. So, and I am going to really quickly look up how many targets he got because I forgot. But I think he out-targeted DK. No, he had 6 targets. So he had 4 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown with 6 targets. DK had 4 catches, 83 yards, and 7 targets. But they were both easily far and above everyone else in the target share. Calvin Austin is going to be the number 2 in that team. And we just saw that they can keep up with the scoring of other teams, and they could score a lot of points. So when they're scoring a lot of points, maybe you're going to get a Ben Skoranek touchdown like you did on Sunday. But more often than not, it's going to go between DK and Calvin Austin and maybe one of these tight ends. My other ad this week is a very deep cut, and it goes back to that Titans-Broncos game. I've got Alec Ayamanor, wide receiver for the Titans, as a big ad. His stat line this week is very unimpressive, 2 catches, 13 yards. But in that game, he had 7 targets. Ridley had 8. Ayamanor had the second most targets on the team. He's a very underrated prospect, drafted in the 4th round on a Titans team that lacks receiving options. Once they play some teams that are, lesser skill levels than that Broncos defense, Ayamanor could be a really sneaky guy to have. And the best part is most people aren't going to be thinking about him yet. It's still a week early, probably, on picking him up. But I'd say if you've got the roster spot, go ahead and do it. My starts this week, Travis Hunter, I just even though week 1 was kind of gross, and Travis didn't score a lot of points, he was the leading receiver in targets that game. And Trevor's definitely leaning on him. Trevor's struggling a lot right now. So that's the scariest part of this, start, is that we don't know what Trevor is. Well, we know from the last 4 years that he's not the 101 generational quarterback that we thought he would be. But if he can give – Hunter's going to be running those easy routes, and so he's going to give Trevor Lawrence an out on almost every play. And I think Trevor is going to build a nice rapport with Travis. And so we're going to see that connection grow throughout the season. And they're playing Cincy this week. They're going to have to score. They're going to have to keep up. And it's the weirdest thing. Trevor Lawrence hates throwing to his best receiver. It's always been a thing. He loves throwing to these trash guys. Not saying Travis Hunter's trash, but he's not throwing it to Brian Thomas. And if Brian Thomas ain't scoring, then it's going to be Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Brian Thomas, I think, had 7 targets, but he only caught 1 of those passes. So it's
okay.
Trevor Lawrence just basically missed him the entire game.
He just missed him.
Yeah, I think he got a rushing touchdown too. I mean, it's a little bizarre for him to. I didn't think he was a very much rushing wide receiver. So they used him a little weird this game too.
Yeah, one of my buddies, Jay, shout out Jay. We talked a lot about Brian Thomas from last year because he was a guy we weren't super high on in the draft. And then he, made us look like fools because he was one of the best rookie receivers last year. But we talked about how he didn't start blowing up until Trevor was out and Mac Jones came in. And Mac Jones was just slinging the ball. So Brian got a ton of targets then. Not to say that he's bad, but we were always thinking, could that have been a function of Mac Jones being in the offense and them just trying to throw the ball to keep up with other teams, that Brian Thomas was so good? No, I don't think that Brian Thomas is bad by any stretch, but Trevor, we got to see what Trevor's got because, man, it's not looking – he was originally my panic guy, and I'm still panicking about him. I just didn't talk about him. But he just did not look very good. He didn't look very sharp, even though that team won. My sleeper start, Logan brought him up earlier. I've brought him up too many times. Bashal Tootin. Playing Cincy. We've already seen that they are running multiple running backs on that team. With Bigsby out, that's a huge chunk of running back share that's going to be out. Bashal Tootin's he's the guy. I mean, he runs a 4.3 40. He's thick. He's strong. In college, he led he's the best college running back coming out with missed tackles forced. And that's like a very sticky stat for future NFL success, being able to force missed tackles. He's a great yards created guy. I think it's inevitable. Now, I'm not saying go start Bashal, if you've only got 3, running back spots, like find somebody else. But I know a lot of people do draft like the 0 RB teams where they have one stud running back and then their second running back, they're just trying to find a guy. If you've got Bashal in the second running back spot, I feel perfectly fine with that in a high-scoring game. So those are my takes. We got one more comment from Lehigh Sky High. What's up, Lehigh? Thoughts on Kayshon Boutte? Is he fool's gold or the real deal? Seems like Diggs was on a snap count, but he's had a great rapport with Drake May at the end of last season. I'm tempted to pursue him. If you scroll back just a little bit, Dom just talked about Kayshon Boutte as an ad off the waiver wire this week. He had 8 targets, 100 yards on a team that's struggling to find a real wide receiver one. Diggs, I like Diggs a lot. He's a target earner, but he is coming off that ACL. So, we're still trying to temper expectations on him. Boutte could be the real deal, but he's another one of these guys that last year started off strong and then, wasn't really a lot throughout the season. But he's worth a shot. I'd say go for it. We won't know if he's the real deal until week 4. Week 4 is the big week that you kind of understand what the NFL season is going to look like. So, take some shots on these guys. That's all I've got. Logan and Dom, do y'all have any parting words for people this week as they head into week 2?
So I forgot to give my starts, but I'll just get them really quickly. Brenton Strange of Jacksonville, tight end.
Great.
Cincinnati allowed 100 yards combined at Fannin and Njoku, and Strange led Jacksonville with 59 receiving yards. So I would start him, and then obviously the 49ers defense against the Saints. They're only rostered in 36% of leagues on Yahoo, so that could also be another waiver wire ad.
That's a great one. Nice. Dom, do you have any parting words for these people?
Like we said, buy low on guys who didn't do so great this week, especially, guys that were drafted high and people are going to panic on. Gaslight your league mates, make them think that they drafted terribly, and buy some of these guys really low.
Yeah, definitely. This is the best part of the year to buy low on guys because this is when people panic. They've been looking at their roster for about a week going, oh, yeah, this is going to be sick. I'm going to score minimum 150. And then 89 points week 1. It just always happens. Logan, do you have any parting thoughts or parting, strategies for people heading into week 2?
Just don't overreact to week 1. Week 1's always a weird week. Like most of the time, receivers in week 1 really struggle. Like this season, Quentin Johnston, Keon Coleman, and there's one more receiver. Those were your top 3 receivers. Oh, and Zay Flowers. Those are your top 3 receivers in week 1. So don't overreact to week 1. Don't panic, and just don't make any just brass decisions. That's right. Yep. Unless those people are Harold Fannin, Bashal Tootin. If you run in a fab league, just blow it all up. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've been waiting for football for so long, and then we finally get it, and then we're disappointed or we're really excited about certain people. You got to temper your expectations. There's certain guys, you do need to get in early on. So, maybe you do go and, try to get Fannin, with everything you got, or trade for Bashal Tootin. But be smart about it. Like somebody earlier asked about starting Devontae Adams or Khalil Shakir. And that's, I think, not to pick on you, not at all, because I think we all have that question at times. It's like, should I sit this guy I drafted as my number 1 receiver for this guy I drafted as my, 6th, 7th round pick? Stick with your studs, start your studs, give them a chance, and we'll see by week 4, kind of where everything's at. And the good thing is if you lose all 4 games, you can still make the playoffs. It's a longer road, but even if you lose the first 4, it's okay. We're trying to experiment here to see what's going to be sticky for the rest of the season. So,
Well, guys, that does it for tonight's stream. Really appreciate everybody coming on. I mean, we had a ton of comments asking fantasy questions. Once again, I'm Cameron. You can find me on Twitter or X at Big Squishy Boy. Logan, where can they find you?
On Instagram, you can find me at Logan Lazarchik 34 or on Twitter at Lazarchik Logan.
Love it. And Dom, where can we find you?
You can actually find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at the Fantasy Pulse.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Did you just update your name?
Yeah. I kind of like I've had it as my name, like my Twitter name as my actual name for a while. I was like, I'll just make it because that's all I post about. So
I love it. I love it. That's a great name, the Fantasy Pulse.
Thank you.
Like I said at the top of the show, guys, tomorrow morning we have our start sit columns going live on the website. Go to the website, fanfeednetwork.com. On there, you can scroll to the fantasy page where it will have all things fantasy football on there, all the live streams regarding fantasy football, the articles written for fantasy football, and keep strong out there. Make sure you're following us. And other than that, good luck in week 2. And let us know how you did. Let us know where we were wrong. Because if Harold Fannin is bad next week, I'm gonna be cooked. I might get fired, but we'll see. So anyway, guys, we're signing off. Thank you all again, and we will see you next week for the show. Oh, well, yeah, and I'm really bad at hitting end stream.